thinking, you very nearly never came here.
Oh yeah.
How crazy is that in hindsight to think back? I mean, it's been enough, 10 odd years, maybe even longer since that, but like, you almost never, this was almost never your school. Do you ever think about that?
I definitely think about it. I was definitely close, and if I was, if I had my way as a prideful, bitter high schooler, I probably wouldn't have come, because when they first started showing interest, I said, kick rocks, you didn't want me before, why would you want me now, kind of thing. So I was very skeptical, and bless Coach Bowles' heart, he knew my family, knew our personality, so he went after my parents, which was the right thing to do, because my dad called me downstairs one day and was like, hey, we should look into this, so that calmed me down, and that started something pretty cool, that I have no idea, where I would be from obviously a basketball standpoint, a career standpoint, but also like a person livelihood standpoint. There's so many things that this university offered and exposed me to that made me kind of who I am, and gave me opportunities from basketball to, my Christian growth. I have no idea if that happens anywhere else.
How do you flip that switch? Like you said, you're basically telling them to kick rocks.
Yeah.
And now eventually it changes. Is that an overnight thing, or does that take?
No, I honestly, I remember Jared texting me and asking like, hey, what do you think about coming? And I was in my room. I vividly remember I was sitting with my brother, and I was like, oh, this guy, the nerve, like, no, like I'm good, like I'll find somewhere else, blah, blah, blah. But like I said, I think a big part of it was my dad calling me down. Like, we sat at the kitchen table, just kind of laid things out. Like, you have great opportunities here or there and all those things, but Ohio State's right down the road. Lay out, John Diebler, you have a friend that's older, so you can rely on him. Obviously, Jared and Jordan and JD, and like, the more, I'm a logical guy, right? So the more you lay out facts like that, the more it's like, okay, how can I just completely write it off? And then once you come and you meet Coach Mata and you just see the vibe that the team has and the culture that they're building, and they were a good program, right? So, like competing for Sweet 16s and beyond, and Big Ten championships. So once you start experiencing that, you want to be a part of it. I'm super glad I did too, because I'm an hour, 45 minutes from home too. I got to see my family. They got to come to as many games as they possibly could, which they wouldn't have if I went somewhere farther away.
I could see Thad, and I could be totally wrong on this. Have you ever told Thad that side of it from your point where you're like, that's how you felt at first? I could see him getting
1,000%.
Okay,
yeah.
I could see him.
I give him so much trash. Like, he's the first person I go to and say, do you remember when you didn't want me to like be at the beginning? And he goes through this spiel of, we didn't have a spot, we had this guy, and then he got transferred out and all this stuff. And I said, yeah, you just still didn't want me, like, and that's one that speaks to like just who he is. Like, he doesn't take it personally. Like, he jokes about it. I should say it tonight, just to razz him a little bit. But I definitely say that the first time he called me, I ignored it because I didn't know the number. He left a voicemail, and you can't call him back because it's a private number, right? So then I'm like, oh shoot, like, it's a big deal. I have no way of making this up. So I had to reach out to Coach Bowles to then call me back.
How much did you stay in contact with Coach Mata, through the years since you're at Ohio State?
I talked to Coach regular-ish, the last couple of years, just trying to check in here and there. He was, before he got back into coaching, obviously had a little more free time on his hands. So he was usually on the beach or watching film somewhere, the last couple of years, which was just fun to see. And he's still a guy that I can bounce ideas off of, and kind of like, hey, I'm maybe not like life struggles, but business kind of decisions, those kind of stuff. Like, he's a great guy. He has a great perspective. He's been through a lot. We talked a decent amount kind of leading up to this, because I asked him to come. Today's the first day of recruiting, so no shot. But I mean, him, his wife, and his daughter all texted me today. Those guys there are very few coaches and families like that. So, and I didn't realize that until after I left. Like, I thought it was normal, and then I talked to other people, and it's not normal. So I try to maintain that relationship. And now John's there, so I talked to John on the way here, gave him a trash talk. It's good times. It's good.
How closely did he watch like you guys? Obviously in the TBT and stuff like that. Given that he coached all you guys, like is he giving you guys any coaching or anything like that?
No,
that type of stuff.
I mean, he would never. If he asked, he would. But I mean, he's another fan. He wants us to succeed. The greatest thing about the TBT is the year we won it. It was in Chicago, so we had to play the 3 games. We played a game, or John last minute, like John wasn't going to go because his wife was pregnant. Like, he was going to just do any time. Finally, we were like, okay, she's probably not going to blah, blah, blah. And I was still here. I canceled my flight that they were going to pay for. And I was like, all right, John, I'll drive to Chicago with you. So we drove to Indianapolis, where Coach is, had dinner at his house, convinced them to come with us to the game, like late at night. And then we drove back to their house that night afterward. And that's just, like, he hopped in a tiny car there were 4 of us in there, so there's not a ton of room, and he wanted to go have fun. So he's a fan. He always wants the best for us.
How about with Coach Bowles, just the keeping up with him, and I mean, like you said, if he doesn't get a hold of your dad, this whole story goes differently for you.
It's been fun to, like, it's just funny how your relationships change a little bit as you kind of leave and, like, they go their separate ways. We've definitely kept in touch. His son's old enough to be playing like AU ball now, so they actually practiced near my house. So I went out there one day and just you sit down and talk to him like no time has passed. So he's just a guy that he's a guy that I would call in the middle of the night if I needed anything, because I know he'd show up without asking a question. There's no why, there's no it's just whatever you need, I'll be there. So and he's held me accountable when we played. Like, he wasn't a guy that just did his job recruiting and then stepped off. Like, he wanted me to continue to get better and improve and challenged me and those kind of things. So I'm not surprised he's been having success, going other places, and everyone that plays for him loves playing for him because his personality, his energy, and what he demands of you. But he also is going to celebrate with you. He's going to be by your side. So I don't know. I was super fortunate with all the coaches I had when I was here.
What has it been like getting to, you touched on this a little bit earlier, but getting to interact with the other inductees and get a little more of an appreciation for some of the other incredible athletes that have come through Ohio State? What has that experience been like for you?
Yeah, it's been humbling. I mean, it still feels weird to be in this position. I mean, some of these guys played in 1920, like and they had great careers, great everything. And just to be a small part of that is super cool. But it's also amazing, it speaks to the standard that's set at Ohio State and how they go about all the things they do. There's a standard that's equal across all barriers and all sports. So hearing fun, hilarious stories by guys that lived in different times, played at different eras, and those kind of things is super fun. So my goal is to talk as least amount as possible, because these guys have life experience. They have really cool things to say. So I'm just trying to listen.
Was this like an achievement that you ever even really thought about at any point, or was this something that when you heard you were being inducted, you were like, oh,
Yeah, no, I remember coming to this when I was in school. I mean, I would probably say in my hubris, like, yeah, I want to do that. Did I think it would happen? Probably not. I definitely wasn't expecting the phone call when I got it. Also let that one go to voicemail. So yeah, I don't know. It is crazy. I was telling him a while ago, I'm super young for all of this. I don't feel like the dues have been paid in a sense, and another part of it is I played with great players that I think will get, be at this stage, but just haven't yet. But really good guys that have that set the way for me. So it feels weird for me to kind of step ahead of them in a sense.
Yeah. When you kind of
How are you doing?
You the man.
I like the pocket square.
I like the socks, bro.
Appreciate you.
Does an honor like this, obviously make you reflect on your Ohio State career and everything like that? What kind of sticks out to you as the highlights, the singular moments, I guess, that you really reflect on and think of first when you think about your Ohio State career?
That's really funny. Sean actually asked me that this morning. What do you miss the most? Or what comes to mind? It really is messing around in the locker room or random trips or being in the hotel, especially like in the NCAA tournament, you're there for 5 or 6 days. So it's just like, what are you doing the whole time? And those are the things that I miss, not only about like Ohio State, but playing in general. Those relationships, the random situations where you get in an argument about whatever it may be, what's your favorite candy, or obviously the Jordan and LeBron conversation comes up. So just like being in those moments and like feeling that fire, those are the stuff I miss the most. I got to play in a lot of amazing games too. Like we had good teams when I was in school, so we were playing late at night on TV a lot. And you don't think about that at all when you're in school. You just think this is supposed to happen because blah blah blah. Because you're pretty prideful and think that you're the best thing that's ever played. But looking back, the more you see, like, it was uncommon to be in those situations, to play against the guys that we got to play against, and even like the Big Ten as a whole when I was in school was incredible. So like the talent across the board. So like I remember that stuff too, like the challenges, and it's been a lot of fun.
Do people still sing "Party in the USA" to you?
You would be amazed at how often that still comes up.
Really?
My neighbor, who I've lived there for 2 years now, just this past spring, said, "Hey, do you remember the Party in the USA video?" And it's like we talked to them like semi-frequently, so it wasn't out of the blue. So yeah, it still pops up every once in a while. It's good. I will never live it down, and I'm okay with that.
It just seems like that's one of those things you're talking about, like fun memories that don't have anything to do with being on the court. Like that's just one of those random things that became a thing. Like
no, it really, I need to look. It's got to be close to 800,000 views now, so really hoping to get to 1 million.
How, like, early on in your career did you, kind of sense that you were this, like, fan favorite kind of player at this program?
I still don't feel that way. And I know it's there because I still get amazing interactions with fans now. Like, I'm in hospitals that I have a mask on kind of thing. So, but there are still people that instantly like, oh my gosh, they have a really cool memory that they think about, or I took a picture with their son, or whatever. We met up after a game. Those, like, that stuff is super cool for me. I don't know. I don't view myself that way. I don't know how to word it. It's just I think I underestimate all of that for the most part, but I'm very appreciative of when those situations do come up, because fans are so awesome and they're great. And what I've learned is they tend to not remember the bad things or the poor performances, right? They remember most of the good things that you do. And I get a lot of comments about the game winner I hit against Iowa State. Like, that happens all the time. Just diving on the floor, and like that's what they remember. And that's, as a player, that's what you hope that they remember about you. You played the right way. You got me excited about the game and that kind of stuff. That's what means the most.